My name is Katie Thomas, and I'm 24 years old. On the night everything unfolded, I was curled up on my sagging gray couch with my laptop balanced on my knees, finishing a freelance project while pretending the cheap instant noodles on my coffee table counted as dinner. The call came 3 days before Thanksgiving. My phone buzzed. The screen lit up. Lisa. Not Dad, not home. Lisa. My stepmother never called me directly. If she needed anything, she went through my father, like I was an extension of him instead of a whole separate human being. So when her name appeared, something quiet inside me straightened. I answered anyway. Hey, Lisa, what's up? Her voice was clipped and brisk. We need to talk. Your father and I are coming over tonight. Not, are you free? Not, does that work? Just a statement. We are coming. I shot my laptop a little harder than I needed to. Okay, when? At 6:30. Make coffee. The line went dead before I could respond. I set my phone down and stared at it for a moment, my own reflection faint in the black screen. In the silence, I became suddenly painfully aware of my house. My house. Legally, it had been mine since I was 12. Mom's house. The one she fought for in the divorce. The one she placed in a trust under my name. But emotionally, it still felt like hers. The sagging cabinets she painted twice but never liked. The old wooden table carved with initials from my middle school science project. The narrow hallway lined with pencil height marks she kept adding until she moved away. Mom left for Florida 3 years ago. Early retirement and ocean air. Before she left, she hugged me on the front porch and said, "It's yours now, honey. Really yours. Take care of it. Don't let anyone push you around." I thought she was being dramatic. I didn't realize she was warning me. I did a frantic walkthrough of the house like a hostess preparing for guests she never invited. 2 bedrooms, small kitchen, living room doubling as my office. Simple, paid off, manageable on my unstable freelance income. A soft, lived-in space. Mine. By 6:30, the good mugs were out. Coffee brewed, candles lit. Apparently, I was trying to impress the woman who once called my thrift store couch depressing. They arrived at 6:47. Naturally. Dad walked in first, hands shoved in his pockets, eyes drifting everywhere except my face. Lisa followed, heels sharp against my hardwood floor, expression focused in a way that wasn't casual at all. "Hi," I said, forcing a smile. "Coffee's ready." We sat at Mom's old kitchen table, the same table where she helped me with homework, where she slept after long shifts with her cheek on the wood, where she signed the divorce papers that broke our family and somehow saved us. The scratches from my 7th grade volcano project were still faintly visible. Lisa didn't bother with small talk. "Thanksgiving is in 3 days," she said, wrapping her hands around the mug like she owned the steam rising from it. "My sister's family is coming to visit. 8 people total. Her kids, her husband, my parents, my nephew, and his girlfriend." "That's nice," I said cautiously. "Big crowd." "It will be. They need a place to stay. Hotels are ridiculously expensive this time of year." "Yeah," I nodded. "Thanksgiving week is brutal. I can recommend some Airbnbs near you. There are a few nice ones about 15 minutes from your house." The pleasant mask on her face cracked slightly. "No," she said. "They're staying here." I blinked. Here, as in... I looked around, half expecting a second house to magically appear. "This house?" "Yes, Katie, this house." She said my name like it was something she had to tolerate. I frowned. "This place only has 2 bedrooms. I don't think 8 people..." "Which is why," she cut in, "you need to leave for the week." For a moment, I truly thought I misheard her. The coffee in my mouth turned sour. "I'm sorry, what?" Dad finally spoke, his voice strangely small for a man who once carried me on his back through a blizzard. "It's just for a week, honey. Thanksgiving through the weekend. You can stay with a friend or get a hotel. We'll cover half the cost." Half. How generous. I set my mug down carefully so my shaking hands wouldn't betray me. "You want me to leave my house so your wife's family can stay here?" "It's not a big ask. You're 1 person, they're 8. The math is simple." "The math is that this is my house." Lisa leaned forward, eyes sharpening with something cold and calculated. "Technically, your mother gave you this house as part of her little spite campaign against your father. You should be willing to share it with family. Real family." Those 2 words hit like a slap. Real family. Mom's tired, tear-stained face flashed in my mind. Mom put this house in my name legally. It's in the divorce decree, filed, notarized. You were 12, Lisa said, dismissively. That was your mother being vindictive. Your father deserves access to this house too. He helped pay for it before the divorce. And he signed it away, I shot back, in exchange for keeping his retirement accounts. Dad shrank a little. Katie, we're not trying to start a fight. We just need help hosting. Family helps family. I agree, I said, which is why I'm offering to help you find places to stay. But I'm not leaving my house. Lisa's chair scraped back harshly as she stood. Listen very carefully, she said, voice turning icy. My family is coming. They're expecting to stay here. I already told them they could. You're being incredibly selfish. I'm being selfish? I stood too, heat rising up my neck. You came into my home and demanded I leave for a week. This house should be your father's, she snapped. Your mother stole it from him. A judge awarded it to her. That's not stealing. The polite mask on from her face vanished. Get out, she hissed. Pack your things. My family needs this space. You have until tomorrow morning. I walked to the front door and opened it, my heart pounding so loudly it echoed in my ears. You need to leave, I said. Now. She stared at me like she couldn't believe I wasn't obeying her. You're making a huge mistake, she warned. When your father cuts you off, when everyone hears how selfish you are, when they learn you ruined Thanksgiving, you'll regret this. I'll take my chances, I replied. Dad rose slowly, as if dragging invisible weights. He couldn't look at me. Katie, please think about this. I have. The answer is no. Lisa brushed past me, her perfume sharp enough to sting. At the car, she slammed the door so hard something inside rattled.
Dad hesitated for a moment, then followed her because he always did. I watched their taillights fade down the street. When I closed the door, the house felt impossibly quiet. My hands trembled as I slid the deadbolt and fastened the chain. Then I walked back to the kitchen, sat at the same table they had just tried to claim, and pulled my laptop closer. 8:34 p.m. I opened the folder labeled Important, then House Stuff. There it was, Mom's divorce decree, the property transfer documents, all the scanned PDFs I'd seen a dozen times but never truly read. I opened the decree and forced myself to pay attention this time. The house had been awarded to Mom, then immediately placed in a trust under my name with her as trustee until I turned 18. After that, it became fully mine. All spelled out clearly in 15 pages of painfully dry legal text. Then page 11, paragraph 7. Party A, father, hereby waives all future claims, rights, or interest in the property located at 4477 Maple Street, including but not limited to residential use, financial benefit, or inheritance consideration. This waiver is permanent and irrevocable. Permanent. Irrevocable. Dad's signature sat neatly at the bottom, notarized, dated 12 years ago. He hadn't just given up ownership. He had surrendered everything, any right to live here, profit here, or even consider it part of an inheritance. Legally, the house was mine, completely, unquestionably mine. I leaned back, staring at the screen, my heart pounding for a different reason now. Then I scrolled through my contacts until I found a name I hadn't touched in years, Michael Richardson, Mom's divorce attorney. My thumb hovered over the call button. It was late. He was probably retired, maybe asleep, maybe gone. I hit call anyway. Voicemail. I left a shaky message. Hi, Mr. Richardson. This is Katie Thomas. You handled my mom's divorce 12 years ago, the house on Maple Street. I think there's a situation with my dad and stepmother trying to push me out. I'm not sure what to do. If you're still practicing and you get this, please call me back. It's kind of an emergency. I hung up feeling ridiculous. It was past 8 on a Tuesday night. I'd be lucky if he even heard it tomorrow. At 9:12 p.m., my phone rang. This is Michael Richardson. A calm, steady male voice. I absolutely remember you, Katie. What's going on? I told him everything. The visit, the demand I leave, Lisa's real family comment, the threat that I had until morning. He was silent for exactly 5 seconds. I counted. Then, do not leave that house. Do not give them keys. Do not let them inside under any circumstances. I'll handle this. What are you going to do? I asked, gripping the phone like a lifeline. Your mother didn't just transfer that house. She built very specific legal protections for situations exactly like this. Your father waived all claims, not just ownership, everything. He has no right to demand access, no parental claim to the property, no argument for shared use. I saw the waiver, but can they really? They can't do anything, he cut in firmly. What they're attempting falls under illegal eviction, trespassing, and possibly fraud if they've duplicated your keys. I'm making some calls tonight. I'll be at your house tomorrow at 10 a.m. Don't open the door for anyone but me. And if they show up before I arrive, call the police. Mr. Richardson? Michael, he corrected. And Katie, don't worry. They picked the wrong fight. Your mother ensured that years ago. He hung up. I sat on my saggy couch, pressing the phone to my ear, caught somewhere between fear and relief. This was actually happening. My stepmother had attempted to force me out of my own home, and my father had either agreed or simply failed to stop it. I made myself another unnecessary coffee and stared at the divorce documents, the cursor blinking over Dad's signature like a small, relentless heartbeat. Later, I silenced my phone and crawled into bed. Sleep came in thin, broken pieces. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw 8 strangers standing on my porch, someone else turning my key in my lock. When my alarm went off at 7:15 a.m., my phone was already buzzing with texts. Tomorrow had arrived, and for the first time, I wasn't the one leaving. Morning hit like a slap. My phone buzzed nonstop before I even stepped out of bed, notifications flashing through the dark room. Dad, Katie, we need to talk about today. Dad, Lisa says we can compromise. Maybe you stay in your bedroom. They use the living room and guest room. Lisa, my family is already on the road. We told them they're staying there. Be gone by 10:30. Unknown number. Hi, this is Sandra, Lisa's sister. So excited to stay at your place. See you soon. I stared at the last one for 30 whole seconds. They had given my number to strangers. Strangers who believed they were staying in my home. Strangers already driving toward me. My chest tightened. I forced myself to get up, start coffee, brush my teeth, pretend I could breathe. By 9:40, I had checked every door and window 3 times. By 9:45, I reread Michael Richardson's text. I'll be there at 10, do not engage. By 9:47, I heard engines outside. 3 of them. I parted the blinds and my stomach dropped. 3 cars packed my driveway and spilled into the street. Doors opened, people stretched, kids ran onto my lawn. Suitcases, plural, oversized and heavy, the kind you bring when you plan to stay a while. 8 people exactly, just like Lisa promised. Sandra from Facebook, her husband, their kids, a young couple I didn't recognize, and an older pair that had to be Lisa's parents. My porch turned into a luggage drop-off zone. At 10:03 a.m., the doorbell rang. I didn't answer. The bell rang again. Then pounding. Katie! Lisa's voice cut through the wood. We know you're in there. Open the door. I stepped back from the entryway, pulse pounding. More knocking, then a metallic scrape. A key sliding into my lock. Lisa's triumphant voice. See? I told you I had a spare. We don't need her permission. The key turned,
or tried. A loud click. No movement. She tried again. Then again, faster, angrier. Click, 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 click. Why isn't this working? She snapped. Sandra looked confused. The kids stared like they were watching a villain lose control in real time. One of the husbands muttered something under his breath. I thought he said, "What the?" I walked toward the door, voice loud enough for everyone to hear. That key doesn't work because I changed the locks last night.
Silence. Then chaos. You what? Lisa shrieked. I could almost see the words hitting her like a plot twist from a bad movie. You think you can just... You can't do that. I told us this place was available. I'm calling the police. She's locking out her own father. I stood there, pulse steady, listening to each ridiculous accusation. This wasn't chaos. This was clarity. At 10:14, Sandra's husband muttered, "Maybe we should just get a hotel," voice trembling with embarrassment. By 10:20, Lisa was shouting frantic instructions. "Call your father. Call the police. Call whoever." At 10:23, the pounding on the door reached a frantic rhythm when a sleek, black Lexus SUV pulled up. The solid thunk of the door closing made heads swivel. Michael Richardson stepped out, gray suit crisp, expressions sharp enough to cut steel. He wasn't alone. Another man emerged, a county official, badge visible, clipboard tucked under his arm. Serious, official, very, very bad news for Lisa. Michael walked up the driveway like he'd been waiting for this moment all year. "Good morning," he said pleasantly to the stunned crowd. "I'm attorney Michael Richardson, representing the property owner." He gestured toward the house, toward me. Lisa spun around. "Property owner?" Michael raised one calm hand and reached into his leather briefcase, pulling out a stack of papers thick enough to hurt someone if thrown. "This property was legally transferred to my client 12 years ago as part of divorce settlement 2013-47822, filed with the county, notarized and recorded." He handed a set of documents to Lisa. "And here," he said, giving another set to Dad, who had been shrinking into the background like a guilty teenager, "is page 3. You'll notice your signature, Mr. Thomas, permanently waiving all rights to this property, irrevocably." Lisa flipped through the pages, panic rising. This is old. He has rights as a father." "He has no rights to this property," Michael corrected her, calm and firm. "None. He signed them away in exchange for keeping his retirement accounts." The porch went silent. Sandra's jaw dropped. Lisa's parents blinked, confused. Sandra's husband muttered, "You told us he still owned this place." Michael glanced at me through the window. Permission granted. I opened the door. Everyone spun around. I stepped onto the porch, chin high, voice steady. "You were never invited here," I said, turning to Dad and Lisa. "No. They came anyway. You're not being kicked out. They were trespassing the moment they arrived." The county official stepped forward. "I'm Frank Harrison, county building inspector. I'm here to serve formal trespass warnings." He pulled out a stack of yellow papers. "If you do not vacate this property within 5 minutes, criminal charges may be filed. Fines, arrest, and a permanent record are possible." One of the children burst into tears. Sandra looked horrified. "Lisa, what did you do?" "My sister," Sandra's husband barked. "She said Katie agreed." Lisa's face turned blotchy red. She should have. You don't understand." Michael cut in, calm as ever. "Mrs. Thomas misled you. She lied. She attempted illegal entry with an unauthorized key and tried to coerce the homeowner into leaving her own property." Frank checked his watch. 4 minutes, folks. People scrambled. Suitcases rolled. Children sobbed. Lisa's parents muttered apologies. Sandra avoided my eyes but gave a tiny nod, an apology she wasn't brave enough to voice out loud. "But, Lisa," I said, standing firm, jaw clenched, eyes blazing. "This isn't over," she hissed. "We're family, and your father deserves—" "My father signed legal documents," I said, voice low but clear. "What he deserves is exactly what he agreed to. Nothing more." Dad closed his eyes, as if the truth physically hurt. Lisa opened her mouth again, but he grabbed her arm.
Lisa, he said softly, voice cracked. We need to go. No. Now. She stared at him, then at me, then back at him. Something in her face finally broke. She turned and stalked toward the car. 3 vehicles drove off, leaving behind exhaust, humiliation, and silence. Michael stepped beside me as Frank returned to his car, whistling casually as if this were just another Tuesday. That went better than expected, Frank said cheerfully. Usually, someone gets punched. I exhaled for the first time in hours. Michael handed me a folder. The decree, the waiver, copies of the day's trespass warnings. He tapped a separate envelope. A cease and desist. If they contact you again demanding access, we file for harassment. I swallowed hard. How much do I owe you? Nothing, he said. Your mother set up a retainer 12 years ago. She knew this might happen. She knew your father, and clearly his wife, would try this. He gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze. You did the right thing, Katie. As the November air stilled around us, cool and steady, I realized something. This time, I hadn't let anyone push me out. Not from my home, not from my peace, not from my life. Thanksgiving morning should have smelled like cinnamon rolls and roasted turkey. Instead, my house smelled of leftover coffee and adrenaline. Quiet. Peaceful, the kind of peace that sits on top of a volcano, waiting. By 12 noon, I convinced myself it was over. Lisa's family sulking in a hotel somewhere, Dad pretending nothing happened. Me, soft socks, silence. Around 2 p.m., my phone exploded. Not calls, but notifications. Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn for some reason. All because of one post. A novel-length Facebook status from Lisa Thomas, complete with a staged, tragic photo of her looking heartbroken at a hotel breakfast bar. Caption, heartbroken this Thanksgiving. My stepdaughter refused to let my family stay at her house, a house her father helped pay for before a bitter divorce. 8 people, including children and elderly parents, were left scrambling for last-minute accommodations during the holidays. When did our children become so selfish and entitled, praying she learns what family really means? I froze. I read it over and over. My hands began shaking.
The comment section was a mess of strangers siding with her. Kids today have no respect. I'd never treat my stepmom like that. She did this on Thanksgiving, ungrateful brat. Your husband deserves better. Each comment felt like a stab to the ribs. People who didn't know me, didn't know the truth, were building an entire villain story around me. I wanted to scream. Then something unexpected happened. A new comment appeared from Aunt Karen, my mom's sister. She didn't write a paragraph, just one line. Since we're sharing stories, here's the actual story. She attached 3 images. Image 1, a screenshot of the divorce decree showing the house was legally awarded to Mom and transferred to me at age 12. Image 2, page 3 of the decree showing Dad's permanent waiver of rights. Image 3, a close-up of Dad's notarized signature. Her caption read, "He didn't refuse to host family. He refused to be illegally evicted from his own property by people who arrived uninvited with luggage. Facts matter." Lisa's entire narrative shattered like glass. The comments flipped hard. Oh, so she lied. Wait, the stepdaughter legally owns the house? Lisa, care to explain this? You tried to kick her out of her own home, children and elderly parents? Supportive comments vanished one by one, deleted by embarrassed authors. Lisa stopped responding entirely. Within an hour, the entire post disappeared. Deleted, but screenshots lived forever. 3 different cousins sent me copies with messages like, "LOL, she really tried it," and Karen dropping facts. Or, "Girl, you good?" I lay back on my couch, pressing my palms over my eyes, letting a trembling breath escape. Having the truth out there made everything feel heavier, yet realer. At 5 p.m., my inbox pinged. An email from Sandra, Lisa's sister. Subject, apology. Hi, Katie. I don't know if you remember me from that disaster on your porch. I wanted to sincerely apologize.
We drove 6 hours because Lisa told us everything was arranged. She said you had agreed and were staying with your boyfriend for the week. She never mentioned the house was legally yours. She never said she tried to force you out. She never told us she used a key you didn't authorize. My kids were terrified when the county official showed up. We had no idea what was really happening. I haven't spoken to Lisa since Saturday. I don't know when I will again. I'm sorry we were part of that chaos. You didn't deserve any of it. I read it 3 times, searching for guilt, manipulation, a hidden agenda, but the words felt genuine. I replied, "Thank you. I appreciate this. I'm sorry your holiday got ruined. That wasn't my intention. I just couldn't let anyone kick me out of my own house." She responded almost instantly, "If someone tried that with me, I'd have done worse than change the locks. Take care, Katie." It was the first honest interaction I'd had with anyone connected to Lisa, and it felt grounding. 1 month later, a new email arrived. Subject: "We need to talk," from Dad. "Katie, I've had time to think about what happened. I didn't realize the legal situation was so clear-cut. I thought I still had some rights to the house since I helped pay the mortgage before the divorce. Michael explained I signed those rights away. I don't remember doing that. It was a difficult time. Can we meet for coffee without Lisa? I'd like to apologize properly." I stared at it for a long time, then typed, "The legal situation hasn't changed in 12 years, Dad. You just ignored it until it affected you. I'm not ready to meet yet. Maybe someday, but not now." He never replied. 2 months later, a call. Florida area code. Mom. She didn't say hello. "Sweetheart, Aunt Karen told me everything." And I found myself laughing for 2 days. I even moved my grocery cart in the aisle, baffled. "Mom, you think this is funny?" "Honey, I put those protections in place exactly for this. I knew your father. I'd met Lisa twice before moving. I knew enough. Why didn't you tell me about the protections, the retainer, any of it?" Her voice softened. "Because I wanted you to believe the house was fully yours. If I told you how airtight it was legally, you might have felt it was still tied to your father, but it wasn't. Not for a single day after you turned 12. I stood there between shelves of marinara sauce, holding back tears. Mom, thank you. You set a boundary. They tried to bulldoze it, and I stood my ground. I'm proud of you, Katie." That was the first time since the entire disaster that I felt something like peace, real peace. Not the quiet hiding a storm, but the quiet that comes after one. Winter turned into spring before the fallout fully settled. There were no surprise calls from Lisa, no drive-bys, no Facebook novels with staged drama and selective truths. Just silence. But silence, I learned, isn't the absence of noise. It's the echo of everything that came before. Month 3, the hardware store confession. I ran into Mark, one of Dad's longtime friends, at the local hardware store. I was standing in front of a wall of paint samples, trying to choose between 3 indistinguishable shades of beige. He spotted me, hesitated, then walked over. "Hey, Katie." "Hey," I echoed, bracing myself. "You doing okay?" His question was vague but loaded. "Yeah, fine." He picked up a box of nails and turned it in his hands. "I heard about Thanksgiving. Your dad's been quiet about it." I didn't say anything. Mark cleared his throat. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing." I blinked. "Really?" He nodded. "I've known your dad for 20 years. He's a good man, but he lets Lisa steer the ship more than he should. Sometimes he doesn't even realize when he's headed for the rocks." He paused, eyes softening. "He knows he messed up, Katie. He's embarrassed. That's why you haven't heard from him." I didn't know what to say. Embarrassment wasn't an excuse, but it wasn't nothing either. Month 4, Target aisle tensions. I was in Target on a random Wednesday deciding between 2 types of phone chargers when I heard Lisa's voice in the next aisle. "That girl chose possessions over family. It's shameful." My heart thudded. I froze behind a display of discounted candles. Dad's voice came next, Tired, quiet. She didn't choose possessions, Lisa. We tried to take her house. We were sharing. In her house that she legally owns. Do you hear yourself? Silence. Then footsteps. I stepped back, hoping they'd leave without seeing me, but Dad turned into my aisle and stopped. Our eyes met. He looked older, smaller, like someone had deflated him. Lisa pretended not to see me, face stiff, speed walking away. Dad lingered, opening and closing his mouth before finally following her. I let out the breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Seconds later, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number.